Serious, have you ever experienced a glitch in the Matrix situation? What happened? I live in NYC. The L train runs from Brooklyn to Manhattan under the East River. In Manhattan, the stop are First Ave, 3rd, then Union Square, which is a major transfer point. During morning rush hour in 2012, I was in packed L train which emerged from the East River at First Ave, opened its door as per usual, closed them, then proceeded along the track as per usual. About 30 seconds later, the train stopped, and the announcer First Ave, 3rd Ave next, stand clear. I looked around a bit stunned, but the bleary-eyed passengers were mostly staring into their phones. I imagined I must have just gotten confused. The doors closed again. The train took off down the track, slowed down, stopped, and opened its doors. The announcer, First Ave, 3rd next, stand clear. This time I poked my head out quickly, and saw it definitely was First Avenue. I spoke up, shyly, to no one in particular. Hey, did anyone notice we stopped at First Ave 3 times? But just 1 or 2 people kind of looked up quizzically and then evaded eye contact. The doors then closed. The train took off, slowed down after 30 or so seconds, and opened. 3rd Avenue, Union Square next, stand clear. The train then continued west down the track, normal as could be. For years I've thought about this event. I was there, cognizant and clear-eyed as ever, clutching a coffee, but I've never found any explanation. For one day, everyone I was talking to was having the same conversation with me. Topic was on disability studies, and none of them knew each other. For example, in the morning I was having that discussion with my professor. Then later that day a friend brought it up who doesn't attend the same class as I do. And later that evening another friend mentioned how she wanted to do their master's in disability studies. Weirdest situation ever. I'm 47 years old. My brother is 45 years old. And once when I was about 5 years old he and I were jumping off of my bed's headboard. It had a whole bookshelf built into it, so it was pretty beefy and sturdy, and trying to flap our arms to fly. Of course we jump, flap our arms, and land right in the middle of the bed. Finally my brother said, I'm going to fly. I'm going to do it this time. He then jumps off the headboard and flaps his arms as fast as he can. He starts to come down and then starts flapping his arms faster. Then something happened that neither of us expected. He flew up. When we were jumping off the headboard, the ceiling was still a few feet above our heads, but then he started flying up, right up until he hit his head on the ceiling and then fell to the foot of my twin bed, then rolled forward and fell to the floor. We then looked at each other and realized that he had flew and that it was possible. We got all excited and started trying to do it again and again. We ended up breaking my bed, and got in trouble. We tried to tell my mom and dad what happened, but they always made up some excuse as to what happened, and that we must have made it up. We were never able to replicate the results again, but we both remember what happened. We even spoke about it 2 days ago when I went to his house for dinner, but even he thinks that we might be remembering it wrong. The thing is though, he flew up higher than we could jump. He hit his head on the ceiling, and he landed further down the length of the bed than we had previously done. And I remember, clearly, seeing him start to come down, and then change direction and go up higher and hit his head. I honestly have absolutely no idea how it could have happened, and logically speaking it makes no sense. But that is exactly how it happened, and I cannot reasonably explain it. But it happened. But yes, I worked in an airport and was the lead of the ramp team, ground handlers. I was waiting for a Delta Ron flight to arrive. It was nighttime and we were in position so that I could marshal the plane into the gate. When the plane arrived it would have to go down beside far end of the terminal out of view and turn around. Come up the taxiway, turn left, taxi to the assigned gate, and turn into park. All is quiet, and plane is less than 10 minutes out. We look over, and as clearly as can be we see the tail of a Delta plane going behind the building with its logo lit up and everything. We waited and waited. Nothing came around. A few moments later, the plane lands. There was no other Delta plane scheduled to arrive, and they only used one gate at my airport. There was absolutely no way to have seen what we did at that moment. I was at a Girl Guides camping trip, and we slept in tents with about 5 of us in them when I was younger. We all went to sleep with our heads on one end and our feet on the other. In the middle of the night, I wake up facing the opposite direction of everyone else. Still in my sleeping bag, I turned to what I thought was my right to ask friend 1 why I'm like this. But they just replied, it's not friend 1. I'm friend 2 half asleep. So my sense of direction that I thought I had was gone and wasn't like the night before. Finally, I turned my sleeping bag back around so that we are all facing the same way again. And in the morning, I was backwards once more. I told my friends what had happened but none of them said they noticed anything. Still can't figure it out to this day. Just yesterday actually, I had drawn 2 pictures like a month or so ago and recently needed some information I had typed down when I showed them to some friends online. The thing was, I couldn't find the images anywhere. I checked my chat histories on things like Discord and in my texts. Hell, I even tried to find the Reddit, Twitter, and Tumblr posts I had made but there was nothing. I had printed them out at some point and they were pinned to a corkboard. Guess what? Fucking gone. My family didn't remember putting the images up for me. Even the art program I used to draw them. IBS Paint X didn't have the images. I'd have no reason to delete them from anywhere, and yet, not a single site or application I had posted these pictures and had them. I could understand one thing, but everywhere? Literally everywhere? People I asked said they remembered vaguely seeing the images but couldn't find them as well. Seriously, out of what had to be at least 50 plus people across different platforms, not a single person could find proof these images existed. The only way I know they exist is because I have them in my gallery. I still don't know why or where these posts and messages went, or why specifically these two images decided to be fucking purged from literally everywhere, but I felt like I'm going crazy. At a friend's house when I was 10, and we went upstairs and down the hall into his room. But when we went through the door into his room, we actually went through a door into his kitchen. We stood for a second looking at each other wondering WTF? His mother just asked if we forgot something because to her it looked like we just ran to the stairs, turned around and ran back. We went properly to his room, but just asked each other if that really happened. When I was younger I had a stuffed lion. I would wake up at night and find it not there. I would look around for a bit, then go back to bed, then wake up like 10 minutes later and it would be under my pillow, and everything I moved when I was looking for it was where I moved it to. This happened for like a year. I had a similar experience as a teenager. When I woke up one weekend I went to put on my eyeglasses that I usually kept on my nightstand. My nightstand had a very small surface, so besides my lamp and my glasses not much else fit on it. They weren't there, so I searched around my nightstand on the floor. Then I went to the bathroom to check. Then I went back to my bedroom to search my nightstand and dressers again, but nothing. I went out to the living room and looked around but just couldn't find them. I finally just went back to my bedroom for the third time, and there they were, right on the nightstand. It might sound dumb to other people, but there's absolutely no way I missed them. The surface of my nightstand is way too small to be able to miss anything being on it. And I was home alone because my parents were already gone to town when I woke up. Such a weird feeling. I was walking along the driveway when it was windy. I didn't like that the wind was blowing my hair in my face. So I spread my arms out and imagined it stopping. All of a sudden, I couldn't feel any wind on me anymore. My hair had stopped blowing in my face. And the really weird part about it is the wind was just as wild as ever around me. The trees were getting their branches and leaves blown around everywhere. Just the same. Then, when I stopped concentrating on the wind stopping, I could feel it again. And got hair in my face again. This happened twice, so far. Once I was staying at a cousin's house and I was taking a shower when I accidentally knocked a shampoo bottle off the toilet. I heard it hurt the ground and it even knocked over the trash, and when I went to retrieve it I could find it. It simply disappeared. I spent 30 minutes trying to find it, but it was gone. It disappeared as if it never existed. Seriously. Was traveling down the road past a high school and the band was out playing. I watched them and heard them as well as the others in the vehicle. As we round the corner it gets quiet and we look over and no band. All of them gone. We all looked at each other and had to question if we all just seen a group hallucination. Almost 50 kids and adults disappeared in a matter of a second. Glitch? Yes. Just a week or two ago. My mom and I were shopping at a small boutique. I mean, it was barely bigger than 15 by 20 and open. Door at one end and changing rooms on the other end in the back. It was midweek and just before lunch, so we were the only shoppers in the store. So we were shopping and I watched my mom go into the changing room with an armful of clothes, including a pretty green dress that would have been perfect to wear at Christmas. Totally not my mom's style at all, but it would look pretty on her, so I was interested in seeing how it looked on her. Now, my mom dresses like a lot of women in their late 60s/early 70s, you know, shoulder-length bob hairstyle, khakis, a sweater and a puffy vest, but I can recognize her anywhere, from her mannerisms, her walk, etc. I kept browsing for a few seconds, less than half a minute, and turned around to go down the next aisle and find my mom standing there looking at two sweaters. I said, "How did try all those clothes on so fast? Did that green dress look good on you?" And she said, "What? I didn't try anything on." Booked it over to the changing room I saw her go into, pulled back the curtain and saw that dress hanging there. There was no one else in the store, let alone someone that looked just like my mom. I called her over and pointed at the dress and said, "I just saw you go into the dressing room holding that dress to try on?" And she said it wasn't her. She'd never wear that. I have no idea what the hell that was. Also, tried to get her to buy the dress. I felt like it was a sign that she should buy it. When I was a kid my mom asked me to go into the basement to grab a board game that I could play with my friend. I didn't remember going down to the basement. It's like she asked me to get it and the next thing I know I'm upstairs with the board game. Kinda like a version of when you're driving and you're zoned out and don't really remember much of the drive. I went to bed in my bed and woke up in my then girlfriend's bed. I was woken up by her shock at me being there. I didn't have a key. No windows were open. She lived several miles from my house. No drugs or alcohol were involved. I was crossing a road in my shitty older car when a big truck came barreling down on me from the cross street. I knew I couldn't make it across and that the truck didn't have the space to slow down or even swerve. I closed my eyes and gave up to it. When I opened them, I was on the other side of the intersection and the truck was going at the same speed a block past me. I've driven hundreds of thousands of miles since then, with plenty of entirely explainable near misses, but I still know that there was some glitch that let me make it across that day. One time I dropped an apple in the middle of an empty floor, no tables nearby it could have rolled under, and it just vanished, completely disappeared, no trace left behind. I didn't even hear it hit the floor. I suspect maybe I'm just an idiot and didn't see where it went, but I looked all over the room and couldn't find it to save my life. I have lucid dreams and deja vu constantly. Deja vu from lucid dreams I had years ago that at the time made no sense but ended up being supercuts of things happening now. Also lucid dreaming every single night. It's like not sleeping and instead falling into some AI fever dream. It's kind of creepy, but I think I heard a voice when I was alone. This happened more than once, I think. I'm sure it was just my brain messing around though, lol. Did anyone else experience the same? This still happens when I was younger. I'd say like 5 years old I started to hear these voices, not like the little voices in your head like random sentences, different people each time, different places. One night while I was at my old house and trailer park, I was walking into my bedroom and I heard a black male, maybe in his 30s or early 20s, it was hard to tell, but I heard him say, "Hey, can you finish that tomorrow?" I heard it from the ceiling. I looked up, what's around? Nothing was there. Same thing happened hundreds of times throughout the year, different voices, different places each time. A lot of the times it occurred at the same moment as I felt something touching my back. I used to sleep with my back up against the wall and I used to feel hands touching my back. I even put my hand in the crack and I felt something grab it and try pulling me down. This kept happening until I finally had enough and turned the other way. Like I said, I still hear the voices every now and then. It's just not as common. I don't really tell my doctor cause I don't want to seem insane, so you're not alone, my friend. I cracked a lens in my glasses. Was bothering me for a good 2 weeks, to the point it actually sent people pics showing how it affects my vision. I cleaned those lenses for days, many times. The crack was only surface level on the outer lens. I could feel it. Woke up one day and put those things on it, no crack. Just gone. I could maybe have imagined a day or two, but just the day before I'd been grumbling. The sun shining on my glasses just makes me notice the crack more. Plus, all my pics from the weeks before, the crack just went back. I live in fear of it really happening now. Ha! I used to live in the opposite side of the town. When people started asking me if I'd been to X place, or mentioning, "Oh, I saw you at X yesterday," etc., I would always say, "No, can't be me. I haven't been around there in ages." They would insist that the person had the same hair color, hairstyle, same style in clothes, same height, even the same bag I carry to work. That went on for about a month and stopped. Months later, I moved to that part of town and get a job also there. So there I am, living there and frequenting all those places. People would tell me they saw me before, for some random ass reasons now and then. I feel like time stopped for a second and nothing is moving in front of me as I still could see. My car will help you parallel park into a spot. I know I have used it by going past the spot where I want to park, putting it in reverse, and selecting the parking option. I demonstrated it for people. I had hand surgery and could not move the wheel easily for parallel parking, so I used the feature, took it in for routine service, and it got a software update. Now when you want to park, you have to swipe a screen to have it start searching before you pass the space. Once it identifies a space, you then do as above. But I know with certainty I have never once swiped a screen to activate it, and I certainly did not with my hand surgery. The dealer manual and all online bulletin boards indicate that I am wrong, and that it has always only worked the way it is now working, but I know I did it differently in the past. This might not make sense, but I've been having like 3-month-long deja vu. It's been tripping me up. I'll do things I've never done and go to places I've never gone and see people I've never seen, and it all feels so familiar and it's weird. So this happened maybe 4 months ago. I was in my bed under the covers scrolling through social media. Everything was going okay when all of a sudden I heard a clear snoring sound. It didn't creep me out at first, as I thought it was my dog, which snored quite a lot, until I got up and turned on the lights, as I realized my dog is in the kitchen, sleeping, and only I was in my room. This is probably my strangest moment. I once lifted up a rock and watched the same rock levitate upward a few feet to my left. This lasted a minute. When me and my dad were making our way to a place in Canada called Hudson's Hope, there was a guy with a trailer right behind us, and we both looked away on the road for like 2 seconds. There was nowhere he could go and he just disappeared. His car wasn't even on the side of the road or anything, he was just gone. I used to sleep on the upper deck of a bunk bed. It stands nearly 2 meters tall and the only way to access the upper deck is through a narrow ladder. One day I got a lucid nightmare where I fell out of my bed. I woke up instantly and find myself lying on the floor beside the bed, still wrapped in blankets with a pillow beneath my head. I don't know how I got there. If I really did fell 2 meters, there'd bound to be bruises. This happened to me when I was younger. I'm pretty sure I fell and didn't sleep climb, because I woke up in a jolt very abruptly on the floor. I had fallen asleep on the top bunk. I think when we are asleep our bodies are relaxed, so if we fall we absorb the impact better and might not bruise. Also, The younger the more forgiving injuries are. Oftentimes the TV or song will say a word exactly at the same time we are saying it. Happens a lot when thinking too.